Well, listen, why don't you go ahead and turn your phone into landscape mode?
Okay.
So obviously, I don't want to turn my whole display, so FaceTime on Mac just turns the display to match the phone. Want to turn it back? So again, this is so simple. There's nothing to set up. There's nothing to configure. That, it's a very simple demo.
Yeah.
So now, the tens of millions of Mac users are going to be able to FaceTime with iPhone 4s and iPod Touches. And I think people are going to like this based on the requests we've gotten. Hey, thanks a million, Phil.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Well, that is FaceTime for the Mac. Now, maybe the best news is that we're going to release a beta release of FaceTime for Mac today. So you'll be able to go to apple.com and get a beta release of this today, run it on your Mac, and start FaceTime calling with over 19 million users on their iPhone 4s and their iPod Touches. And there's the new logo right there. So we're excited about that. Now, next up, the entree for today. We want to give you a sneak peek at where we're going with Mac OS X. And, as you know, we've had 7 major releases of Mac OS X in the last decade. I don't think anyone can match that track record. And we've been improving it with every major release, and we're really happy with Snow Leopard. But we know how to take it even further. And so today, we are going to give you a preview of the 8th major version of Mac OS X, and we call it Lion. Mac OS X Lion. Now, what is the big idea? What is the philosophy behind Mac OS X Lion? Well, that's where Back to the Mac comes from. What we've done is we've started with Mac OS X, and we created from it a version called iOS, which we used in the iPhone. And we invented some new things, and we've perfected it over the last several years, and it's now used in the iPad as well. Well, what we like to do is we're inspired by some of those innovations in the iPad and the iPhone. We'd like to bring them back to the Mac. And so that's what Lion's about. Mac OS X meets the iPad. There's a lot of innovation in Mac OS X, user features and a lot underneath the hood. But at a high level, these are going to be some of the most exciting things. And we haven't got time to show you everything today, but we wanted to give you a taste of the philosophy behind it and show you a few of the key features that we're working on. So what exactly is it that we have learned and become inspired by on the iPad? Well, multi-touch gestures. Multi-touch gestures can be really important, and we think they can be really important on the Mac too. The App Store has completely revolutionized how people get their apps on the iPhone and the iPad. Why not the Mac too? And when people get their apps on the iPad, they have a great place to put them. They have these home screens that have all their apps on them. They don't have to go hunting around for their apps. Full screen apps. Every app on the iPhone and the iPad is a full screen app. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, that's great on the Mac too. We've seen that from the work that we've done as an example in iPhoto, which we've expanded on in iLife 11. Full screen apps can be really great sometimes. Apps on the iPad auto-save. You don't have to bother saving your data. It's constantly saved for you. It's one less thing to worry about. And when you launch apps, they auto-resume. They come up exactly where you left them. That'd be great on the Mac too. And there's a lot more, but these are some of the highlights of how we've been inspired by the work that we've done in iOS, and we'd like to bring it back to the Mac. So let me talk for a few minutes about a few of these. Multi-touch gestures. You know, the first thing you think about is this, right? We thought about this years ago. We've done tons of user testing on this, and it turns out it doesn't work. Touch surfaces don't want to be vertical. It gives great demo. But after a short period of time, you start to fatigue, and after an extended period of time, your arm wants to fall off. It doesn't work. It's ergonomically terrible. Touch surfaces want to be horizontal, hence pads. For a notebook, that's why we've perfected our multi-touch trackpads over the years, because that's the best way we've found to get multi-touch into a notebook. We've also, in essence, put a trackpad, a multi-touch trackpad, on the mouse with our Magic Mouse, and we've recently come out with a pure play trackpad as well for our desktop users. So this is how we're going to use multi-touch on our Mac products, because this doesn't work. The App Store. The App Store has been huge, as you know. On the iPhone, it's completely revolutionized mobile applications. On the iPad, it's phenomenal as well. Now, how do we know this? Because over 7 billion apps have been downloaded from the App Store. 7 billion. There's never been anything like this that we've seen in our careers. And so we'd like to bring it to the Mac. And as part of Lion, we're going to have a Mac App Store. What are going to be the characteristics of this store? Well, it's going to be the best place to discover apps, just like it is on the iPhone and the iPad. Won't be the only place, but we think it'll be the best place. One-click downloads, free and paid apps, and it's the same deal for the developers. They keep 70% of the revenues. Automatic installation. You won't have to do anything special. The apps will just download and automatically install. And automatic app updates, just like the iPhone and the iPad. So when apps update, you'll be notified. One button, you can update all the apps. And the apps will be licensed for use on all your personal Macs. So we're making it very simple. So that is the Mac App Store. And when you get your apps, you're going to have a single place to put them, which is the Launchpad. Again, home screens for your apps, just like on the iPad. So that's the first three. And the last three we're doing as well, and I think you can imagine those. So there's one other thing we'd like to show you today. We have these 4 cool inventions, or things we do in Mac OS X. Expose, a great way to find your windows and do window management when you have lots of windows open. Dashboard, a great way to get to widgets instantly. Full screen apps, which we've talked about, and spaces, if you want to create more than one workspace and move between them rapidly. And this is great, but as we've added full screen apps now, we said, you know, we have 4 of these things. Wouldn't it be great to unify them all? And so we've done that in something we call Mission Control. It's a way to view everything running on your Mac and instantly navigate to anywhere. So what we'd like to do now is, even though we have tons of new features in Lion, we've picked out a few of them, and we'd like to give you a sneak peek today. And to do that, I'd like to ask Craig Federighi, who's our Vice President of Engineering for Mac OS X, to come give us a demo.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Craig.
Well, hello. Oh, wow. Thank you. So I'm absolutely thrilled to give you this sneak peek of just a few of the many features coming in Mac OS X Lion. And I'd like to start with the App Store. So the App Store, with the App Store, we've taken everything that users love about the App Store for the iPad, and we've brought it to the Mac. I can get to the App Store right here on my dock. See on the featured page, I have access to the new and noteworthy applications on the store. I see what's hot, staff favorites, great way to track what's going on. Across the top, I also have top charts. Here I can see the top paid and the top free apps currently on the store. Over here in categories, I get a great place to go if I'm looking for something specific, for instance, education apps for the kids. And finally, we have updates. The App Store is tracking all of the apps you've downloaded on your Mac, and when they have new versions available, they're listed right here. And if you want to, you can select one, or with a single click on Update All, you can bring your Mac entirely up to date. Well, next I want to show you just how easy it is to purchase and install a new app using the App Store. I'm going to go back to the Featured page, and I'd like to install Pages. I don't have Pages on this machine right now. So I'm going to go to the Product Overview page. You see I get this great description. I get these gorgeous screenshots, help me make sure I'm buying the right thing. I get these customer ratings and reviews. It's really helpful to make sure I'm making the right decision. And when I'm ready to purchase, it's just one click on the Buy button. You'll see the app icon actually lifts up and flies out of the App Store down to my dock. Now, this is a real App Store app, speaking the real protocol to a real server and downloading a real copy of Pages to my machine. And you see installation has never been easier. With just a click, I'm running my newly purchased application and creating my first Pages document. It's just that easy with the App Store. So that's the Mac App Store. We think developers and users alike are really going to love it. So next up is the Launchpad. Launchpad is a super convenient way to organize and launch all the apps you have on your Mac. See it right here in my dock. With a click, Launchpad leaps forward to this beautiful full-screen grid of my apps. If I want to launch something, let's say dictionary, it's just a click. And Launchpad fades back, my app fades forward. I can also organize really conveniently here in Launchpad. You see we have iPad-style pages. So with a multi-touch gesture on my mouse or trackpad, I can just flick my way to other applications, for instance, my productivity apps, my games, so forth. Really, really easy. I also can organize my apps within these pages. So if I want to move iTunes, let's say, up here to the top, I do what a Mac user would expect. I click and drag, everything gets out of the way, I let go, and I've reorganized. Really nice. I also can create folders, just like on iOS. So let's say I want to create a productivity folder. I just pick up Keynote, drag it on top of Numbers, let go, and I have a folder. I can add my new Pages, pick it up, drop it. Just like that, I've created a folder. So that is Launchpad coming in Lion. Next up, full screen apps.